Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with special guest Reina Weiner, and she's here today to share with us her new book, Trust Your Doctor, but Not That Much. Now, Reina is an inspiring author and mentor and a fun and enthusiastic speaker. She's also the past president of a Toastmasters chapter, president of Why Wait, LLC, and the mother of 2 adult independent children. In her former career, she represented a pharmaceutical company as an oncology consultant and was awarded the honor of a #1 salesperson in the nation. So let's welcome to the show, Reina Weiner.
Thank you. Great to be here with you.
What an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. Why did you feel the need to write this book?
Well, I felt the need to write it because I came from both the pharmaceutical professional world and then the patient world. And combining my 2 experiences, I hope to encourage patients to really ask a lot of questions, be involved in their care, be proactive, and work in concert with their healthcare professional.
Now, I understand that you have some very personal experience in regards to this as well. You're a cancer survivor, and congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, I do. I have been in treatment for about 7 years now and been in 4 clinical trials. They're scientific trials to get new treatments approved. And so, yes, Marianne, I definitely have experience as a cancer patient. And it's, as they say, a journey. But I've been fortunate and gotten great care.
Well, it's interesting when someone's gone through a major medical event, there are a lot of things that come up that most people don't think about. And that's why I found your book to be such a great resource, because it has people kind of thinking about other things.
Well, thank you. I do hope, as I always say throughout the book, to really to ask about treatments that you are being offered, no matter what. It can be for something that's not terribly serious, but an annoying problem or a far bigger problem. But if you ask about treatment options, is there a possibility I can have this rather than that? And consider what you're willing to do, your own part in it to get well, be it exercise or diet or seeking a second opinion because you're really not comfortable with that particular healthcare person. So there's an awful lot of questions to ask and how to prepare so that you can have a very informed discussion with your physician or PA or nurse practitioner, who's ever working with you to help you improve your health.
Well, it's interesting because when we look at, getting ready for a doctor's appointment, you talk about preparing for that. What's the best way to prepare and why should we do that?
The best way to prepare, and that's a great question, thank you, is to sit down and make a list. Not your Christmas list, but your list of symptoms, what you have done to treat them. Are they better? Are they worse? Be really specific. If you've had to take time off from work, if you've used certain medications that are either prescription or over the counter, and then, like I said, what are you willing to do? And in addition, I don't want to forget that, if you've seen another physician or physical therapist, anybody who has cared for you, do you have any records? If you've had an MRI or a CAT scan, get the CD of that, your blood work, bring all of that to your visit so that whether this is a new problem or you're seeing a new physician, you do want to give them all the information so that they can then sort through all that information in their heads and come up with a diagnosis, a working diagnosis a lot of times, and a treatment. So the more you prepare, the more you give your healthcare professional, the more likely you will be to get the care that you're looking for.
Why do you think people are hesitant to ask questions of their doctor or get a second opinion?
People are. And you know what? It really doesn't even matter if this is somebody who is 25 or 75, with a great background in medicine or not at all. It really doesn't matter because there is this sense that if you ask a question of your physician or a healthcare professional, you'll feel like a dummy. You'll feel like you should know this, but you shouldn't know it. You haven't been to medical school. You don't know everything that they know. So I always like to remind people that in addition to physicians being healers, they're also educators. That's part of what they do. So don't feel intimidated. Don't feel silly asking anything that's on your mind, even how to spell a new medication or how to spell the diagnosis. Don't be intimidated, really, seriously. Just put that in your head. Physicians are educators as well as healers.
What are some questions people should be asking their doctors?
Well, they can ask a number of things. They can ask about the diagnosis to be clear on exactly what it is. And it doesn't hurt to ask if you can record the doctor's diagnosis. Some say yes, some say no. But you could certainly write down, so you can ask about that, how to spell it. What is it? Can you explain that to me? What is the treatment that you think would be best for me now? And why? Why is that suggested? This versus that. Why is one better than the other? Where is the best place to have this if it's a procedure and you're going to be going into the hospital? What's the story? If you mind me saying, what's the story? What is the information about the hospital? How many nurses to patients ratio? What's that? Have they had a problem with MRSA, and how do they adapt to it or treat it effectively? So many questions, but sit down and think about what concerns you and what you feel you need to know in order to be well informed and to feel as confident as you can that you're on the right path.
I think that's such great advice, because a lot of times people think that the doctors have the last word when it comes to diagnosis or treatment, and they don't really investigate, what might be better for them.
They don't. And I understand that it's a little intimidating. Like I've said, there are women that I've talked to who are 25 who are just as intimidated as women or men, as a matter of fact, who are 70 years old. So in their presence, sometimes it's sets people back a little. They feel a little anxious about asking questions, but don't. And if you don't really feel that sense that you are in the right place with the right healthcare provider, do ask for a second opinion and don't be uncomfortable. I know it's a little bit uncomfortable, but do ask if there's someone else that they can refer you to who will provide a second opinion. And if they don't, or rather not, then you start your own research. You go online, to well-resourced websites that have information about your illness, which you can Google. And there are foundations, there are support groups that are free and will provide a whole lot of information. So, like I said, it gives you some direction, some support, and some guidance. So hang in there and ask.
Now, do people have to be kind of a little cautious when they look for information on the internet? Because there's lots of great things out there, but there are lots of little interesting tips and stuff like that may not be helpful as well.
You're right, Marianne. Absolutely. I remember when I was first diagnosed with this abnormality, this blood abnormality that I had that worked its way into a malignancy. The young doctor who saw me said, be really careful when you go on the net, because there's a lot of scary stories. And that is so true. And the patients who write about their stories, they may be pertinent to yours, but they may not be. And so if their point is to really scare the daylights out of you, this you don't need. You're feeling stressed enough as it is. So where would you go? If you want reliable medical information, I would go to, depending on your diagnosis, but the Mayo Clinic has a great site, the Cleveland Clinic, WebMD. If you're a cancer patient, Memorial Sloan Kettering. There are lots of sites to go to, like I said, that you can count on that information is coming from someone who knows, somebody who is a healthcare professional. But do stay away from the other sites, Yelp and so forth, that I don't know they'll serve you while you are going through your research.
Yeah, it's good to really, Where the source of the information comes from is very important.
Absolutely.
So you really have a very unique perspective being, coming from the side of a healthcare professional and as a patient, that's gone through an illness. What was it like for you on both sides of this?
Well, on the professional side, you are talking, because my side, I should say first, is from the oncology pharmaceutical side. So my job was to talk with physicians and listen to them a lot about research studies and go to the library, learn more, talk to them about side effect management of the particular products that I was representing. But in addition, learning about all different types of tumors and malignancies that are presented in an oncologist's office. So I spent a lot of time doing that, and then I was a national trainer and so forth. I got very familiar with it. But then when you become a patient, it is so different. It's scary. It's very scary because you think, uh-oh, cancer, this is it. Tomorrow is the end. But in so many cases, that is really not true. So you have to get your head around it. That's what I always think. Initially, it's great to go with someone who will listen and write some notes because they will be a wonderful source of support for you. And then when you go home, you can start doing a little research when you calm down, because sometimes it helps to, like I always say, eat a pint of Baskin Robbins, have a glass of wine, go out with your friends, take a bath, whatever, go to the gym, whatever calms you down. And then when you feel you can breathe again, you can take your shoulders down from around your ears, you can start doing your research. But you are in a different place when you're a patient. But there's lots to learn and lots of support out there. So try to access everything that you can.
So you also talk about the importance that the physicians use in regards to their words with us. Why is that important?
Because words matter. Words are very powerful. And I think that when you get some news, it could be scary news, it could be frightening and new, brand new information that you're unfamiliar with. It does give you pause. It truly, truly does. And therefore, if the news, the information is presented to you in a way that's supportive, it's honest, it's real, you're going to hear what your body is doing at the present moment. But if you feel that this healthcare provider kind of has your back, they're there for you, they will get you along the path to healing, that takes some of the stress away. But if you have a healthcare provider who gives you the news, but in a way that's much harder to hear, it's much more negative. And that only adds to the stress. And as everybody knows, stress doesn't help you feel well, and it does not move you in the right direction. So hopefully, your information is coming to you from someone who has some heart and will let you know that they're there for you. In addition, health, in addition to your improvement of your health, they're there for you emotionally as well. That's a big deal.
Oh, yeah, that's a really big deal. Well, and you talk about the importance of our healthcare team. Who is our healthcare team comprised of?
That's a great question. Well, a lot of times it's a physician, but it can be a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant, nurses, pharmacists. It can be people who do complementary medicine. It can be somebody who does acupuncture, whatever gives you some comfort. Sometimes people go for chiropractic in addition. So all of these people working together, as I like to say, in concert, like a great orchestra, and you get sounds, noises, and support from all of those people. And it's great to be in contact with all of them because they all offer a little piece of data, of information that together, all together, you can use to get well.
So your book is filled with so much great information, and I love it because when someone's going through a health crisis, they can pick up your book and immediately start kind of dissecting what it is that they need to do. One of the things you talk about are clinical trials. Is that something people should be involved in or not?
I think they should consider it because it's a great option. It is, just as a tiny bit of review, it is a scientific study that hopefully provides new treatments. And that is the future. And all we want as patients is to get the latest and the greatest. So I have been in 4 trials, and I would definitely do it again. It's something to consider, and you will want to ask if you're having a healthcare problem that nobody seems to find the answer to. You're going to the doctor on and on and on, and it's just, you're not any better. Ask about if there a clinical trial that would be appropriate for me. You do have to be eligible, and there is pretty strict criteria because they need the data to get it approved so that it can go out to the general public. But I feel very much in support of them because I realized that, for me as a patient, it gave me the opportunity to try something new and something very possibly, I should say, that would help me. But in addition, it's the big picture. It's the greater impact that you may have possibly as part of a clinical trial to get a new treatment out so that all the patients who will follow you, no matter what the diagnosis, doesn't have to be cancer. There's clinical trials for all types of treatment. And if you participate and if it's a successful trial, then it may help the new patients who are coming up after you. And, there's usually somebody in line behind you, maybe now, maybe later. But I know all the people who were in the trial with me were very, very supportive of what can we do for everybody else who may be going through it.
Of course. I mean, it's all about making that difference. And, of course, we want to heal ourselves and get to a place of wellness, but to impact other people. I mean, what a profound thing that is.
Well, it's for the greater good, and I always try to hold on to that because, like I said, initially when you get introduced to a trial, and if you're eligible, if it's appropriate for you, you step into it. And you're not totally sure of what's going to happen, but I can tell you from my own experience that patients who are involved in a trial are so well monitored, much more carefully than they would be in a community setting. Not to knock the doctors in a community setting, but because it's research, they have to have all the information. And the more people who are in a clinical trial, the more relevant the data becomes. So that, like I said, later on, in several years, as it goes through the different phases of trials, eventually it may, if it proves to be successful treatment, it may be useful. It might get approved. And the idea that that's a possibility is really very exciting to me because I know what it's like to go into the doctor's office when you hear the news, as I like to say. And then the question is, well, doctor, what are you going to treat me with? How am I going to get better? And then this option may come up, and that can only be a possibility for you. So give it some thought. And also I can say you sign a consent form. And if for any reason you need to drop out, doesn't matter what reason, you can. It's okay to leave the trial. They hope you'll stay, but if you can't, you do have the option of leaving. So don't feel you're committed forever. You're not.
I think some people get a little afraid when we talk about clinical trials because they think, oh, I'm going to be tested on like a guinea pig, instead of looking at it like this is upcoming new science.
That's true. And as a matter of fact, I do a presentation. And when I do, the first slide is a picture of me and a picture of a guinea pig. And I say, that's me on the right. That is not a guinea pig. And just so that people know, there are any clinical trials that are approved for research purposes are for humans only. That if you were to think about a real guinea pig or any other little creatures, they are in preclinical trials. It's not human trials. That's a whole different thing. And as far as the concept of, oh my gosh, they're testing me and what are they going to give me something crazy? And what if this happens, if that happens? First of all, it's not crazy. there are different phases, and depending on where and what you would be eligible for, if they find that if there's two arms, as they say, two different parts that people are on either A treatment or B treatment, if B treatment is working better than A and you happen to be on A, they move you to B. So there is no really worry about you're going to be experimented on. It is a scientific trial, that's true, but there are so many, different regulations and rules within it so that patients are protected. They're really, really protected. And then, like I said, it doesn't always work. It doesn't always prove to be a better treatment than what's current, but they do test what's the current treatment and is this new treatment any better? And then, you move from there. But please don't be concerned that you're going to be a guinea pig, because I remember when I started my first trial, so many people said that to my husband. How can you let her do that? Well, the fact that I used to talk about them all the time, clinical trials, I became very familiar with them and was really comfortable. But do know patients are protective. They're not experimented on. And if you qualify, it is a safe place to be.
That's a really important. I think it helps shed some light on what's kind of a fuzzy topic for most people when they look at clinical trials, because there is so much unknown that comes with them. Having gone through that and experienced that, I think really makes people feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, Marian, and you know what? You can ask a lot of questions. It's not even that you can, it's really that you should. What will be required of me? How many times do I need to come to the center? How far is the center? Is this doable for me? That you have to ask yourself that. As far as, do I need childcare? Do I have to take time off from work? What's paid for? That's a biggie for a lot of people. Clinical trials, the treatment itself is always free. But as far as transportation to it, as far as lodging goes, because sometimes people might have to stay overnight, those are all questions, you can ask. And what is the goal of the trial? What are they trying to find out? How long is the trial? So it's so important to ask all those questions when you're considering if this is something that you want to do, that you think you would benefit from. So do take the time, write up your questions before, when the opportunity to participate in one is presented to you.
In your book, you talk about having a final plan. So why don't you walk us through exactly what that means?
Well, that means it is a plan to let healthcare professionals know what you would like should you become incapacitated, unable to communicate. And even when you're going into the hospital to have your appendix out, just for example, they will ask you, do you have an advanced medical directive? And if you do, wonderful. But an advanced medical directive tells the healthcare professional what you would like. Should you be unable to communicate? If you get in a situation where, do you want to be resuscitated? Not. A lot of questions. And the advanced medical director gives the professional guidance, the path that you were choosing to go on. And if you don't have that, and for goodness sakes, if you get in an accident or you're seriously ill and you are rushed to the hospital, then if you don't have the directive, then they will have to ask a family member. And if there's no family member there, or they don't know what to do, they don't know what your wishes are, then it falls on the physician to make that decision about, well, should we resuscitate her? Should we do this? Should we do that? And I think most people would prefer to put down their choices, their wishes, what they would like, should they be in a circumstance that it's close to the end of their life. So an advanced medical directive is important, a living will that is all about if you have kids, and the guardianship of your kids and property. And then there's also the medical power of attorney, and that allows someone else to speak for you. And there's lots of other little pieces that you can put in it. But do see what you can find out. Some things you can get online, others that you need to see an attorney. But what's interesting and kind of disappointing, sad, is that because I still go for treatment, I'm on a maintenance chemotherapy. When I was waiting in the great big waiting room where everybody gathers before they call your name, they ask everybody about their insurance as they enter. And then, do you have a living will? Do you have an advanced medical directive? And while I was sitting there waiting, 6 patients came in. And every single one of them said, no, I don't have any information for a healthcare professional should I be at the end of my life. And these are cancer patients. So they have some health risks, and it really would behoove them. And everybody, really, whether you have a health risk or not, just sit down and get some legal document that lets the healthcare professional know what you want, what you need.
That is so important. I mean, we don't know our expiration date. We may have tomorrow, we may not. So getting these things in order and then letting these people that we are choosing to be in charge of our, medical power of attorney know what our wishes are. I mean, that's a very important thing.
Well, the reason it is very important, Marion. The reason I put it in the book, that chapter, is because I was talking to a palliative care physician, and she asked me to do that, to put a chapter in about final plans, end of life plans, because she said, like I mentioned before, if the family doesn't know, if the patient can't communicate, then that whole responsibility falls on the physician. And they really would rather not have it. They want to know what you want. And if you can't tell them what you want, then the advanced medical directive, the medical power of attorney, the living will, tells them exactly what to do. That gives them the guide that they want and that you would want as the patient.
Yeah, that's a lot to put on a doctor. They're busy enough as it is. Having that stuff spelled out, I think, is not only respectful for taking care of ourselves as an individual, but respecting the medical professionals around us.
Absolutely. It does truly help them. They are grateful, extremely grateful, if all of our future wishes are clearly set out in a document. So there's no question that, you don't have all this, maybe a disagreement with the family members. My father wanted this. No, he wanted that. It says right there, this is what I want. This is what I want them to do should I be in this circumstance. And it's, like I said, it's really helpful, respectful, and a great way to go about, the truth is, like I always say, we're all going. We're just not going to the movies. We're going. And so to have a plan, as you said, nobody knows their expiration dates, not like on the carton of milk. It's only good for so many days. We might have 20 years, but we may not. So why not? Why not help your doctor help you?
Yeah. What are some of the important things you want readers and our listeners to take away from your book?
Well, the big little word I use in the book like a million times is ask. Ask for what you need. That's the really hope of my book, is that patients will begin to ask. And I always say too, it doesn't have to be like a life-threatening illness that you're faced with. It could be some smaller issue and you're just not getting the health care that you need. So ask for a second opinion if you feel that you would like to have one for whatever reason. And then ask questions about the treatment choices, do your research, but do ask for whatever you need, I should say, that will make you feel comfortable and feel as if you're getting well. So ask.
Those are so important. That's such great advice and so important. Reina, where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community?
Oh, thank you. Well, they can always go to my website, and that would be Reina. It's ReinaWeiner.com. They can certainly find me there. And they can drop me a note, Reina@ReinaWeiner.com. I'd be happy to talk with them. And hopefully that will be useful and helpful to them.
Well, Reina, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Oh, my pleasure, Marianne. It was lovely to be here with you.
Well, thank you so much, Reina. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you. And of course, to talk about your new book, Trust Your Doctor, But Not That Much. Again, you can connect with Reina Weiner at ReinaWeiner.com for more information. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.